webinar.
Sorry about that.
We will have some introductions, brief, from the presenters and from the hosts. And then we will have a presentation on the private cloud architecture, which will be done by Michael. This really should set the scene for us, why and how we can run AI and machine learning and data science kind of operations in our organizations. So that will be done by Michael briefly, about 5 minutes. And then we'll delve into the gist of the matter, which is a demo on business intelligence in our private clouds, or in private clouds, if you like, or in our environments. And that will be done by NASA. Following that, then we'll have a question and answer session where we can answer some questions which might arise, and then set ourselves for the next webinar, which we will be holding every month to tackle a particular architecture on the artificial intelligence framework. So that is the brief agenda that we shall hold. And I can see some more people have joined us. You are welcome, Jonathan. Good to see you online. Karibuni. So having welcomed everybody who's online and those who will be joining us, I'm going to introduce myself and the team from Powerman and what we do briefly. Then I'll ask Michael to introduce his team and what you do. And right away after your introduction, Michael, you will take it away with your agenda item to give us a sneak peek into the architecture of the private cloud and how we can fit our organizations and to use such technologies. So once again, my name is Simon Waibale, and I'm the AI Director and Machine Learning Division at Powerman Engineering, where we basically are into enterprise solutions and systems. We also do a lot of networks and do a lot of solutions on communications and call centers, where we install such systems that organizations use day to day. So we are very much interested in pushing the AI agenda because of our presence in the server rooms and what we do there. It is something that speaks into our heart, and we are following this story closely and making developments. Online, we have Mr. Gerard Katurege, who's our Managing Director for Powerman, is with us this afternoon. We also have a technical team listening in, headed by TADEX and team. They're also following us online to see how the story unfolds. So we are happy to be here, and over to you, Michael.
Thank you, Simon. A very good introduction. So my name is Michael Sekamanya, and I run a Metness, so where we help customers run systems in their private environments. So meaning that for various reasons, customers pick and choose to run systems in their private environments because of various reasons. One, because it's really costly to run systems in the public cloud. For those who haven't tried, you will know that costs can ramp up severely, and many customers cannot afford these running systems in their public cloud. And then what we do is we help build systems and allow customers to get what they would get in the public cloud, but in their private cloud. And we'll talk more about that. So we have presence in the UK and in the US, and we are making inroads into the East African market as well. So in this presentation, we'll talk more about exactly how we make that happen, with a particular focus on artificial intelligence. The other reason that customers choose to run systems in their private environments is because of privacy. privacy. I mean, there's a lot for example, for artificial intelligence systems to function correctly, they require to have a breadth and a large corpus of data, which most majority of this data is private. For example, sensitive records, data that is gives companies a competitive advantage. So these many companies aren't really ready and willing to share this data because they give away their competitive advantage and privacy. I mean, think about it, for example, from a Ugandan perspective, Bank of Uganda wouldn't just let all their policy documents that are private to management be shipped away into the public cloud, especially outside their sovereign boundaries. So we help customers realize that that requirement. So with me, I've got Carol, who is a business development lead at Ametnis, and I've got NASA, who works as a software engineer with Ametnis. He will be doing the demo itself. So I will share my screen, and let me know if you can see my screen now. I hope you can.
Yes, Michael, I can see your screen, and I hope you can see my face too right now at the shot of the camera.
Okay. Yes, I can see your screen. Okay. So this webinar is really about enabling business intelligence within your organization, and there's a particular focus in how to bring artificial intelligence to basically complement your business analytics that you probably already have, the business intelligence that you have. So we are going to look at Simon already introduced myself, Nasa and himself. We are going to look at how data-driven businesses can add artificial intelligence to allow for more insights into their data. And then we'll look at the tooling, because for all of these systems, you need tools. You need tooling to be able to get this stuff done. For example, for tooling for business intelligence, some of you might already know tools that are available on the market. But then how do you bring in artificial intelligence? And there's a focus here. There are many tools that are available in the public cloud, but there's a focus that we want to strike a balance between gaining access to these tools, but in an affordable manner. We don't want to basically pay out of to drown our pockets dry because of access to these tools. But the question is, how do you affordably get these tools to be able to complement your already existing your business without paying out of the roof? So, and then we'll look at the data infrastructure with a focus of the private cloud. We'll talk briefly about the public cloud, but we'll then compare it and contrast around how that compares with the private cloud. And then NASA we'll walk through a workflow and a dashboard creation demo, and then we'll talk about the discussion, which is sort of aligns with what Simon introduced or gave us a hint to at the start. Okay, so in terms of data, so this is a slide I wanted to briefly talk about the analytics that we already know. We already have these systems. If you don't, that's fine. But many organizations already do analytics. You're able to run reports. You're able to look into insights about data, what your data tells you, at least to inform you in terms of how your business has performed previously. But the question is how we want to then compare it to how you bring in AI to complement your current analytics processes and give you more insights. Now, essentially, just a brief in terms of data-driven decisions. From an analytical perspective, if you have data that you've collected in your business and you are collecting, if you're not collecting, it's the first thing you have to do. You have to collect data. But what that gives you, it gives you the ability to know how you perform from a product positioning perspective, how you can perform analytics on customer feedback, if you're collecting customer feedback. In this day and age, for example, social media plays a huge part in driving business because many customers are on social media. For example, if there's a fault with a telco service, if there's a fault with a bank, somewhere, for example, if a bank denies a customer, access to their money, the first thing customers do nowadays is to go on social media and shame the bank. So if you're a bank, you want to be able to catch these things early on before they sort of spiral out of control and damage your reputation. What that means is you're able to plug into social media feeds and gather the data, get to know what the sentiment is about your product, your solutions, and your how your customers feel towards your service to them. And other aspects, such as, for example, benchmarking against competitors, knowing how the competitive landscape is, the economic landscape, KPIs, and staff performance in agile settings. Now, when you think about that, that is essentially what you get. That is all backward looking. It means that you have to have data that is historical, and then you look back and you say, okay, how did we perform in the previous quarter, in the previous year? How did we perform? That is informing you how you previously performed. And then what it means is if you, for example, if you have multiple products and you find that, oh, this product performed well, then you want to focus, what that tells you is it gives you the opportunity to tell you that focus on this product because it's what's likely going to perform better in future. The theme of that is it's backward looking. It doesn't tell you or predict what is likely going to happen in future. So this is where AI comes in, or some machine learning or AI, artificial intelligence, in the sense that with these analytics, once you complement artificial intelligence, you're able to do forecasting or forecasting revenue, for example, predicting customer churn. That's an important one. If you have a multiple customer base, for example, if you're a telco and you have 1 million customers, how do you know what is the likelihood of a customer to churn with a good certainty? So if you lose analytics only, you're going to look back, oh, these customers tend to leave because of maybe if they are unhappy, if the prices go up, these customers stay. If a customer loses a job, they are likely going to drop our service. So, but that's backward looking. With AI, you have the ability to model scenarios and look at your data historically, granted, but then what you're able to do is to then look at and make predictions with a good probability that a customer is likely going to churn or not. And what that does is it gives you the ability to then combat that event by either calling the customer, offering them discounts, or understanding or helping them to go into a lower plan. For example, if they're on a more expensive plan, a telco plan, they're able to go into a lower plan just so you keep their business. So there's a lot that can be done, but what AI gives you is the ability to run what they call models or regression models that help you look at your data, but then give some sort of a modeling perspective and sort of intelligent perspective to what is likely going to happen in future. So as an example I've included here, if you think about, supposing you have, from an analytical perspective, if you have, obviously you're going to have a data, you're going to have data in a database. But if you have a scenario, say, supposing you have 2 records in a database, you have a director that lives in Nairobi and earns 10 million shillings, and another director lives in Kampala earning 15 million shillings. Those 2 records. But then what if you want to find out what a director in Nakuru, in between, or maybe Dar es Salaam, is going to earn? So if you perform analytics, you will not get anything because you do not have that record. Because what analytics does is it looks at the facts that you have and nothing more. So it just looks at the facts that you have and nothing else. What AI is able to do, though, in that case, is rather than giving you no record, you're able to complement your analytics engine by adding artificial intelligence and then saying, oh, a director in Dar es Salaam is likely going to earn this much because of various parameters that are involved. Cost of living in Dar es Salaam, how advanced the economy is, all the various parameters. So you're able to add predictability to your data. And there's a clear distinction there. What analytics gives you, pure analytics, and what AI can do, or in terms of complementing your analytics engine. So In terms of
How?
tooling, sorry, let's
Okay,
mute.
thank you.
So in terms of tooling,
okay, thank you.
yeah, to be able to get this, to be able to get this, to all this work done, you have to have the right tools, and that's important. You have to have the right tools, and the trick about tools is that some tools, there's always improvement around tools. You need to pick the right tool that's easy. It strikes a balance between ease of use, affordable, and also state of the art, something that gets updated regularly. For example, there are tools that have come in and gone out over the course of what I've seen in my career. You've got some very expensive tools that apply to large enterprises, and if you're a small business, it means that you're squeezed out because you cannot afford to pay half your revenue to just buy a business intelligence tool. So for data, the first thing you're going to need to do is you need to have a database, a data warehouse. Before that, you need to have a process to collect this data. So whatever you do, before you can even think about your business intelligence or artificial intelligence, you have to have, you need to collect data. You have data. For example, a quick example here is that if you're running a business, a small business, you have your bank statements. That bank statements is a wealth of information that you can actually use to feed into what your spending habits are. You have your sales records, you have your purchasing records, how you're purchasing, if you're importing items from abroad, you have data around you. You need to get into to develop the moral or the habit of collecting data. Every data point is extremely important. Now, once you collect that data, it has to sit into a database, some kind of database. You'll find that the majority of people who are starting on their journey as a businessman or a woman will likely use a spreadsheet to collect data. And that can only work so far because, for starters, you have to input the data manually into spreadsheet. So if you want to automate that whole process, you can get away from the spreadsheet. It is a database, but then you go into a proper database that can allow you to actually handle this data correctly. And then on top of that, once you have that, then you need to have a business intelligence software. And this intelligence software needs to do a few things. The three things I could think of, the most important ones, it needs to be able to integrate with your database. And then it needs to be able to run reports. You need to be able to easily run reports. How much did I spend last month? How much did I spend on this product? How much money are we making from these various products? And then if you're a large organization, you need to be able to have a management process, a data management process, and ownership. An example is if you have if you have multiple staff, say 100 to 200, you have HR records, you have financial records in your finance department, how much you're spending on your IT infrastructure, all these data, but somebody has to own that data. And the reason that ownership is important is because you have to make sure the data is clean. And that's a very, very important aspect of this whole process. You have to have data that is clean, which is it's likely going to take you more than 50% of your efforts in terms of reporting and business intelligence, cleaning and cleansing data. And then for AI, the traditional databases, as we know them, will not suffice. You need to have like a machine learning engine that integrates with your database and business intelligence software that then allows you to run run models, and it gives you these forecasting and intelligent insights. So now that we've got that tooling in place, how does the infrastructure fit together? So this diagram here is intended to, if we just follow this diagram, from the left, you've got your data sources. The data sources can be a Twitter feed, Facebook for social media. It can be external, for example, partner data warehouse, an external data warehouse. And a simple example there is inventory. Some companies will give you access to their inventory, especially if you buy a lot from them, or if you're importing, you'll have access to their inventory to check, for example, do you have these products before I can order them? It could be an API, or it could be an external data center. For example, if you have multiple branches within the East African region, you have in Kenya, Nairobi, Dar es Salaam, Kampala, you might have different branches. If you're a fintech, you might want to access data from those external data centers. So that is the external data sources. But now in your internal network, it is important to understand that what we talked about earlier is we help customers run these systems in their private environment. So essentially what we are encouraging and helping customers is get this data, but put it into your private environment. This can be a local laptop. It can be a laptop, as simple as a laptop. If you're a small business, you can start off by running all this stuff on your laptop and it works just fine. Or it can be in your private data center if you're hosting in your private data center, or if it can be in the public cloud as well. But essentially, you have to have databases that are sitting there. If you're a large organization, you likely have a data warehouse, customer database, a financial database somewhere. And what this does is feeds into your business intelligence system. So in the previous slide, I did talk about the integration. So this engine has got to be able to integrate with your data warehouse and the various data sources that you want to pull data in. So once you've got that data, the machine learning engine sits on top, the business intelligence sits on top of the machine learning engine, machine and AI engine. And that's because you want to make to the customer, you want to make the intelligence seamless, i.e. the example I gave before, for example, if I wanted to know the salary of somebody in Dar es Salaam, the likely salary of somebody in Dar es Salaam, but there is no Dar es Salaam records in our database. How you want to find that out is you want to be able to use machine learning, but that integrates and complements your business intelligence system. Let's mute people. Okay. Right. So this is essentially how the whole architecture works.
Just a moment.
Yeah.
Colin and Gerard, please mute. Colin and Gerard, please mute.
So as we talked about, this focus here is mainly for the private environment. It's for your private environment. You can replicate this in your public cloud, but we're focusing on the private environment because of the fact and the need to save money and to be able to you're able to save money. So one of the challenges, so we use the public cloud greatly, and we have incurred loads of costs to be able. This link here can be rather expensive. These cloud providers make loads and loads of money by just data transfer fees, and they are so expensive. As you know, even your ISP makes money from it. So you have that possibility. If money is not a problem, for example, some large organizations don't really, saving $50,000 is not much because it doesn't compare to the $1 million they're going to make. So it's not a problem, and that's fine. You can still use this setup in your public cloud, and it will work fine. For this scenario is for the customer running these systems in their private environment. So essentially, you have so in this case, you have multiple customers for your data. You've got a customer service rep who is likely going to receive a call from a customer saying, "Oh, my phone is not working. I need my money has been stolen off my mobile phone card. I need money to I need to block this number." So something, any complaints, marketing strategies within your marketing department, they want to be able to predict how is this marketing strategy going to likely perform. If we perform this, if we go to the northern part of the country versus the southern part of the country, where are we likely going to get the bigger bang for our spend? And for the executive, their needs are different. They want to find out business insights from a strategic perspective and a holistic perspective. How is our business looking? So all these customers are basically sourcing data from your business intelligence system. So I hope that gives you a bit of an architectural perspective. So I am going to hand this over to Nasa, my colleague, to then showcase a tool that we call Superset. It's an open source tool that we have on our system, on our platform. Just a little bit of a brief about what a platform does. So this is a tool that you can get for free. It's freely available on our platform, on the Witness platform, what a maintenance will do is it helps you install it on your system, on your laptop, data center, your public cloud if you want to, and you're able to use it to run insights. So if you're a business that's worried about spend, it's an open source tool, but it will allow you to be basically one-click deployed, so you don't have to worry about the nuances that come with deploying all this software. So, Nasser, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Mike.
Before Nasser, so before you come in, I would just like to welcome our who have joined us midway the presentation. Just to say welcome. We have Peter, we have Bridget from UAP, we have Felix, we have Proscovia, we have Colin, and then we have Rachel as well from Powerman who have joined us. Welcome. And just to recap for you that we've had Michael present to us the general architecture of how AI systems work, especially and how our organizations fit into the AI by creating private clouds where they can have tools to be able to carry out artificial intelligence, BI, and data science kind of operations on their data. So what we are now going to see from NASA is a demo on how one of the tools has been applied to look at business intelligence, which same framework you can have in your organization. And our strategy is to have at least one tool demoed every month. So if those who have registered with us, we will be inviting you to keep joining us in these webinars, so that slowly by slowly we can inch away at these tools and get to learn them and then get to use them. Where you need any help, please feel free to contact us at Powerman or contact. Then we will get you in touch with a maintenance team. But also the maintenance platform is actually available online, and there is even a version that comes freely available to you for zero cost, where you can be able to look at some of the tools and use them to your own benefit and purposes. So feel free to contact us at any point when you need to. So over to you, Nasser, for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Jared. So basically, to add on what Mike was been saying, Superset is just a tool, but the alternatives there, you could think of it like Power BI or Google Studio or some tools like that. So yeah, so the demo here is briefly going to be about looking at data, how it comes in, and then sharing some charts with you, some dashboards. The main purpose is for people at the C-suite level to make critical decisions to their businesses. So as Michael alluded earlier, the coding that is there, of course, if you could have your data in Excel, like maybe, you could have some data like this in Excel at a very minimal level, but as your organization scales, you're going to need to have a way to get this data in real time and always have a way of making analysis on it. For example, the use case we have now is...
Sorry, Nasser, I think some of the participants are struggling to hear you. Maybe either increase the volume or just speak a little louder.
Okay. Yeah, so let me be a bit louder.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, the whole point is, first of all, we are looking at the data set we are looking at today is for fraud detection. So why fraud? Because this is a critical problem in organizations. One, you need to monitor this problem in real time, and two, fraud is in such a way that the frauds that happen are very few compared to the normal transactions, and then the impact of those frauds that actually happen are really damaging to the business. So this is very critical in terms of real-time analysis of what your organization intends to do to combat fraud. You have to trade off between having bit of bad user experience because you're stopping too many transactions that aren't fraud, and also making sure that actually the frauds don't get through and detected. So yeah, so briefly, let's look at something. Let's try to create some charts for demonstration purposes. Yeah, just a minute. Yeah, so I'm going to create one chart. So once data is loaded, we can come to a place like this and say I'm having some problems with my screen. Let's see. Yes, so for example, creating one chart here. Let's say we want a pie chart. So you can come here and maybe get a data set. So the data sets are usually, you can load them to the tool using various means from various databases, can be Postgres, could be MongoDB, even as simple as JSON files. So let's look at a data set like this for transactions. So down here we can say create new chart. Yeah, so let's say pie chart, and so these are basically dimensions for what you want, which columns you want to present, what you want to do with the data. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to go to the technical bits of how this entire process is done. I'll just show you the finished dashboard here, and you see how it comes to fruition. So right now you can basically run if you're a business that does, let's say, an e-commerce store, and you're looking at people, you want to categorize, for example, which categories have the highest frauds. Let's say, for example, grocery here has more, shopping has more, and something like personal care has less fraud. Then you dig deep and know, ask yourself, why is it that personal care maybe is less fraudulent? It's maybe because fewer people transact with personal care, or maybe the money to win from there is very little. And then maybe do things like, why would what can I do to reduce this percentage, for example, for grocery POS? So this data can always be changing in real time. You can say every minute, every hour, and you see, okay, what's the maximum amount of fraud in the last 5 days? How many transactions have been fraudulent? Maybe in this quarter, yeah, you could look at charts like this line chart that says what's the fraud per month. Maybe you look at it and say, well, why was it very high in November of 2019 or December, and then you dig deep from there. And then you can even run fraud by states. So after all this analysis and visualization is done, you can maybe pass on this information to a machine learning engineer and say, well, how do we train models to ensure that maybe we set safeguards for particular months, maybe like now we're in the festive season and people are trying to make quick money. How do we ensure that we combat this fraud that spikes at particular times of the year, that kind of stuff. So yeah, so briefly, that's it about this tool. It's a business intelligence tool, the business intelligence tool, and I think it can be very helpful for organizations. So these are some of the brief charts that you can, but then you can even do much more advanced stuff at very limited cost that you pay a lot of money, a lot of US dollars for when you use a commercialized tool like Power BI or Google Studio, or tools for AWS like SageMaker, which is really very limiting for economies like ours in Africa and the Middle East. And another thing that Michael talked about with the privacy of some of these tools is you never know who is spying on who, when you buy these cloud provision tools from for example, outside our jurisdictions. So I think that's that's it about the demo today. I think I may give the microphone back to Simon, Michael, and the rest of the team.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Is NASA, do we still have the dashboard for the customer, the telco? I don't know if we do have any participants in the telco space as well. Telco contract. This is something that was. Could you just maybe for 1 minute just walk us through this?
Yes. This is something that's about basically churn telecom companies. For example, you can say we have contracts, let's say it's GSTV, and people have premium, they have basic, they have compact, and you make an analysis on what's the churn rate within these categories. For example, this you could say that for compact, there is high churn rate, and then you come and dig deep and find out why is it that compact customers tend to churn more than, for example, basic customers or premium customers, and then look at things like duration of the contract. Yeah, so yeah, that is a lot of yeah, that's briefly about the information on churn rates, and then you can look at churn rates, for example, compare it with marital status of participants, the age of participants, and then you can give your marketing department these details and make them make more targeted campaigns to generate leads for your organization. So yeah, that's so this is about churn rate. So you, as you saw, you can use data on fraud detection. You can use data on telecom churn rate detection. You can use data on e-commerce, trying to see who is going to buy your products. You can use data even in medicine, but efficacy of different drugs, government campaigns, a lot of different use cases for this kind of tooling. So yes, so that's briefly about this one.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So it's important to know. So we talked in the previous one of the slides. I did talk about the fact that this data, some of this data is static. It's data that is backward looking. So it's historical data. And by you performing analytics like this, it gives you a holistic view of your business. But then if you want to do things such as predicting what's likely going to happen in the future, for example, as Nasser mentioned, getting this data out of the system, passing it into your machine learning engineers to perform, to give you an indication of what's likely going to be fraudulent, or what parameters, what indicators can what parameters can help you be indicative of what is likely going to be fraudulent a transaction. This process can be seamlessly integrated into your reporting so that you're able to run reports and say, okay, show me scenarios. If we were to change this, the marketing spend by 10%, reduce it by 10%, and or maybe 20%, and allocate that money to sales, how would that affect our, or how is that likely going to affect our return on investment? See, that sort of data will not be able to, information cannot be derived from just data like this. You need some kind of intelligence built into or supplementing your reporting engine. And that is something that that if you, we will likely do a webinar about in future, but it gives you, it shows you the difference between just data analytics and adding intelligence, some kind of intelligence onto your data analytics. So yeah, Nasa, if you could just stop sharing your screen so I can then talk about the last bit of, okay. Thank you, Nasa, for that. That's really super helpful. So so one thing that we didn't talk about there, so in terms of those dashboards, what you're able to do is create those dashboards. If you're a small business, those dashboards will be available to you. But if you're a large organization or a mid-sized organization and you're scaling, you're able to send these reports to your to various people within your organization, either by email, create alerts, and you're able to send those reports by email. So the the best way to get started with Superset is to sign up onto a Metness. If you have, and then you can easily deploy it on your local machine, your local laptop. So you can get it onto your local laptop if you're a small business, you want to get started, or you don't have, you just want to, if you're curious at least how it works, get it onto your laptop. If you're an organization, you have some free compute power, deploy it in your private data center, or if you're in the cloud, you can get it into the cloud as well. We are cloud agnostic, so, and it's available for free. You know, if you contrast that to what you have to pay for Power BI, it's a no-brainer, at least in our perspective. So it's available for free. It's easy to get started. And if you need help, as Simon mentioned, reach out to Powerman or to a Metness directly, and we'll be happy to assist you with the deployment. Simon.
For that sneak peek into just one tool today, our strategy is, like I said before, we will be poking at one or two tools every time we gather, and we have planned that we will have this kind of engagements once every month. So that is a good starting point to look into one tool and realize that actually these things are very possible for us to have them in our use. Before I invite us, the rest of the team who are online, to ask one or two questions, I will also again welcome some more people who joined us again along the way. I saw Sam Mugabe joined us and is online. Welcome. Also, so Felix Bambia, I think, yes. Thank you for joining us. And we will keep engaging with you one-on-one, or if you would like to send us a question, we are more than happy to answer and guide you how you can get yourselves start getting dirty with these tools that are available. Michael, before we do the question and answer, sorry, Ronald, you're welcome, although you're welcome at the very end of the session, but I see you saying, I've seen Timothy has a question. I'm going to let you ask the question. Just hold on. But Michael, just before you invite the questions, I don't know if you can quickly run us a list of the tools that we have available on the Metness platform, so that we have a sneak peek into the future, what we shall be discussing in the subsequent webinars. You could just give us a quick rundown of some of the tools that are available to do either artificial intelligence or machine learning or data science, BI kind of operations.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Simon. So we on a Metness, you have tools such as you have the basic components such as databases, multiple database, SQL Server. You can deploy those foundational tools, as we call them, and then there are business tools that drive business. You're able to we have Superset there. We're adding more and more tools for actually to give the customer a choice. So we talked about Superset. We've got other tools that that can help you seamlessly integrate machine learning into your analytics. So they are what they call artificial intelligence databases. What that means is that AI is sort of inbuilt into the database itself, where you've got what they call AI tables, intelligence tables. The scenario I gave before, where we talked about Nakuru, Kampala, Dar es Salaam. So those are intelligence tables that are able to predict multiple scenarios where you don't have the data. And then from a machine learning perspective, if you're an engineer, data science engineer, we have tools such as Jupyter notebooks that can be deployed easily on your environment. And you've got other tools such as JSON tools that help you handle different JSON JSON data. And then we've got some no-code tools as well that can help you map different processes, workflow processes as well. These are really important when you have, how do you, for example, if you wanted to source data from Facebook, how do you easily source that data and write it into your database? Without these tools, you're going to have to be a programmer. But if you're not a programmer, you want to be able to, how do you easily get data from your Facebook feed? So essentially, we are helping. Our objective is to help the non-technical people get access to these tools without the need for the technical expertise that A, comes very expensive, and B, is extremely scarce. And thirdly, you're depending on somebody else. If you're running a small business, you want to be able to get access to these tools easily. So there's many other tools from a business and enterprise perspective. We've got billing software, we've got multiple other tools that are available. And some of them are not free, but fortunately, the others that are free are good enough for a small business to get started, at least on that journey, in terms of being able to bring intelligence and machine learning into their organization. So one last aspect is we are in the next perhaps couple of months, maybe 3 months, we will be demoing another tool that we are bringing onto the platform, which brings generative AI into your private environment. And what does that really mean? It means that you are able to, if you know what ChatGPT gives you, ChatGPT allows you to be able to ask questions, but what it's looking at is it's looking at the publicly known state of the universe. In other words, it scrapes data off the internet and it answers questions based on that data. But if you have a private repository of data, for example, private documents, policy documents, insurance documents, documents that talk about your performance as a company, these are private pieces of information, and you want to be able to intelligently query this data, these data points. We are bringing those tool sets into the private environment, and we will be demoing that along the way at some point. So yeah, that's a brief on what we have.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And I think we're running out of time, but Timothy has a question, but Ronald made a comment that you had overlapping meetings. Ronald, that's fine. We are going to be having many of these webinars, and we are targeting that every month we'll have one to showcase some of the tools that Michael is talking about. So don't worry. Next time you should be able to interface with us, or you can get in touch with us if you need us to interface outside of the webinar. Timothy, I invite you to now ask a question, and we can take 3 other questions.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, George. Thank you, Nasra. Thank you, Michael. Maybe you can just confirm if maybe I'm quite audible, just so that I put my question quite clear.
You are loud and clear,
Timothy. Great. So I'm a software engineer. So I pick a keen interest in what the visualizations were. My main key question is, how do you look at optimization? Because I noticed your chart has the business intelligence bits, for example, the requests coming from the user, and then the requests go through the AI engine, go through the ML engine. I'm looking at, how do you look at optimization of, let me say, a request? If you're looking at fraud, for example, you're checking for fraud. Are you going to do it by every other request and you check for that fraud? Are you going to run it overnight? Is it going to be pre-SQL? Are you going to actively try to do it in real time? The example you gave, for example, for reports, I understand the reports. You can later run them maybe at the follow-up day. I'm trying to ask myself, if you're looking at if you're trying to check for fraud for each transaction, how are you going to handle that if you pass the requests to the engine? And then on top of that, then wait for the response. You remember average time also, you're looking at quick responses. And there's whether it's asynchronous or it's synchronous. So so that's a bit of my thought process. What is the best way of trying to, for example, the case of fraud, how would you look at that? And you want to verify each transaction going through your system. You want to check for the fraud.
Yeah. Okay, now that's a very good question, and I'll take it. So this particular demo is basically looking around. So we touched on fraud, but it's more reporting. It's more about reporting. So these are reports that are running not in real time. So we actually have another platform, another piece of software on the platform called Optim AI, and that solves the particular question, Timothy, that you raised in terms of being real time. So it allows, if you have essentially, if you have a payment system that receives payment, so you have a payment request, for example, in East Africa, mobile money is used quite a lot, and you're able to put rules in there, for example, that state. Here's a simple example: if Michael has sent Timothy money, and then all of maybe 2 million shillings, and then all of a sudden Timothy is going to withdraw all that money instantly, then that's a bit of a fraudulent. You might want to block that transaction until Timothy calls to confirm that they really want to make the transaction, because of the fact that there are fraudsters that, from my understanding, could have access to this data that money has arrived on Timothy's account, and so want to basically withdraw that money. So to go back to your question, so it's in real time, but that is only if you have a payment system that can integrate with our system. So we have a REST API that you can easily plug into, and what that means is when the transaction hits your payment system then calls our API, and then the API will instantly run an algorithm to make sure that it tells you whether this transaction is fraudulent or it isn't, in terms of probability. And it gives you the probability as well. If the probability, then you can decide if the probability is 80% or 90%, then at that point, it's really up to you to decide as the customer. But to your point, it's in real time. What we talked about in this session, though, it's more reporting. It's what was the fraud, the number of fraud transactions that happened last month, last quarter, and how can we prevent them? So it's not the one. This is not the system that plugs into your payment system. Does that make sense, Timothy?
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you, Michael. Maybe just one last quick one is you mentioned you have to do an integration with the system, with the REST API that you have. My question here is, with that REST API, does it need to base on the data that I do have?
Well, it's agnostic.
Integration being done.
So it's agnostic to the data. So you'd have to define the data, because, as you know, we serve different companies. So fraud can happen in a telco, it can happen in a bank, it can happen in a store inventory, for example, fraud as well. So but you have to define the data points that you want to bring in. So essentially, if you have there are two scenarios. We have a rules engine. The rules engine will you define your rules. You can put your rules in a spreadsheet and maybe have 100 odd rules, and you say if the amount is greater than and a simple rule could be if the amount of the transaction is greater than last week's average, then flag that as fraudulent. Now all those data points. So in that statement, you've got the amount, and then you've got the average, and then you've got the time frame as well. So when the transaction comes in, it needs to have those data points to be able to compare them against. So the engine, the Optim AI, will perform those comparisons, but it allows you to specify these custom rules, and use on those rules, you specify them. That's one. And then number two, we can look at historical data that you may have collected over time, and you say this transaction was fraudulent, or this transaction was not fraudulent, and then we build a model. Automatically, when you upload that data into Optim AI, we build a model that reflects that that sort of best models that data, and then using that model, we're able to detect whether it's a fraudulent transaction or not. So the system uses both the rules that you insert into the system, okay, and then it uses the model, the AI model that we build. And that way, so whenever a transaction happens, the system checked both things, both the rules and the model, instantly. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, very much so. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you much.
You're welcome.
Well, we can have one or two more questions as we also welcome. I can see Wilfred He's also joined us right at the tail end, but that's okay. Welcome, Wilfred. Probably we can have one or two more questions, please. Any burning question? Okay, we have a question from Peter. From a marketing perspective, I often get clients. From a marketing perspective, I often get clients who don't have databases and are still operating analog style of bookkeeping. How can you advise on how to transition to the current system? Wow.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I think that, yeah, it's a tricky one. And it's something that that we have in mind. We know that in different parts of the world, it might not even be the analytic system. It could be that your data, for example, think about a farmer who is in the farm and is like, he wants to collect data as they go around their farm, but they can't carry their laptop with them. So I think in that case, the easiest thing to do is we can sort of work with the customer to understand, but what comes to mind here is using their mobile phones. So I'm hoping that at least they have a mobile phone. If they do have a mobile phone, then there are ways to easily collect data, at least the raw data points, to say, for example, this is how many cows I have yesterday, or this is how much milk that was delivered from one town to another. So at least they're able to use their phones, and with those phones, you're able to then get the raw data points, and then there can be an easy integration to put the data into a database. So that is possible, but it would have to be a system, sort of something we talk about more detailed offline if they are interested.
Okay, some comments. I see is Peter saying that thanks for the initiatives, really informative and timely. And yes, we will keep these webinars coming so that we really get ourselves dirty. That one we can promise you. Colin says the webinar is informative. Is it possible to have a recording of today's webinar? Yes, we will share a recording for those who either came in late or were unable to attend. You'll be able to have access to the recording. Because the session was recorded, as we did mention at the beginning, so we'll be able to share it. I think those are the comments coming in. Other people are just saying thank you. Any question? I can take one or two more, please. Or you want me to ask you people a question myself? But anyway, since we'll be having many of these, I'm sure we can prepare other questions for other sessions. We target that every month we'll have one webinar around the various tools. So mid-January, we should be able to have another one. So maybe as somebody thinks of one more question to ask, I'll just take time to say, Felix says, so great. I hope we continue to have such sessions 3 times or more in a month. We would love to have them, but I think also we need to have time to assimilate, and we would like to give you also time to try out these tools. So 1 in a month for start, I think is a good one. So you have enough time to try out these tools. So one of the things I would say, Felix, probably right after this, you should be able to sign up and see if you can actually get the Superset, for instance, tool running on your laptop and give it some data and do some analysis. But also get in touch with us. We can help you to set up if you think you're having struggles to set up. If on a laptop, it should be easy. On 1 or 2 servers in your organization, it should be easy. But as you get into setting up multiple points or multiple clouds, then you really need some expert help. to set up these things. That's why where Powerman, we can come in with the maintenance team to help you out. You can visit the website. Michael, you have that link of where people can sign up and do that. Yes, Felix, in terms of costing and all that, we can have an offline discussion with this and take it forward, where we can look at the costing of building whatever systems you want us to build for you. But for starters, like we said, just having a simple setup on your laptop, that comes for free. You can actually be able to do it yourself. So just get in touch with us, we'll be able to take the conversation forward. Okay, so in the absence of any other comment and question, I would like to thank our hosts, Powerman and team, Gerard and team. Thank you for hosting this. And as you've seen some requests coming in, that we should have this more often, because yes, it's a bit challenging to get everybody on time and in time on a particular day. But if we have them running every month, somebody is able to catch at least 1 or 2 in a quarter. And if you are able to implement something for yourself, then that's very good. You begin to have these technologies right open, because we hear about these technologies in the Google Spaces and Amazon and Azure, but these are things you can really set up for yourself and use them where you have your own data and you don't want to expose your data to the cloud environment. Michael and team, I would like also to say thank you for coming through to be able to show us some of these technologies. It gives us, it whets our appetite to know that it's doable, and we would like to have it started and have a go at it. The rest of the crew were able to join in. I'm going to take it that no question means that we are satisfied with today's session, and our appetite has been whetted to a level where we can get this discussion going. So feel free to get in touch with us. We shall also reach out to you to have a one-on-one conversation on how we can take some of these things forward with you. But for starters, please sign up and get your hands dirty. So thank you very much for turning up this afternoon, and I wish you a wonderful weekend. Because we'll have our next webinar after the New Year, probably I should take this opportunity to say a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to all of you. Looking forward to see you in the New Year, which is hardly a month away.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye now.